Welcome back. The U.S. is close to reaching an agreement this morning to end the war with Iran as Iranians are dealing with the economic fallout over Tehran's pursuit of nuclear weapons. Inflation in Iran is up over 73.5% from last year, with food prices alone at 115%. Iran's currency has collapsed against the U.S. dollar, with it taking nearly 1.7 million rials to equal $1 on the open market. Meanwhile, motorists in Iran are reportedly facing hours-long gas lines due to fuel rationing and damage inflicted to oil and gas infrastructure during Operation Epic Fury. Despite the worsening economic conditions, Iran's regime has brutally cracked down on dissidents who are demanding freedom and basic human rights, executing at least 28 people on politically motivated charges since mid-March. That's according to Human Rights Watch. Joining me now with more is Cameron Khansarinia, the Chief of Staff to the exiled Crown Prince. So great to have you here this morning. I want to get your reaction to the headlines that we're receiving that President Trump has been working into the evening and that he's near finalization on a peace deal with whatever is left of the Iranian regime. Obviously, this is very, very personal for you. And I know that you've been wanting to see a transition in Iran, an opportunity for the people to rise up and take their country back after 47 years of oppression. Do you think, with the framework of this deal, that that day will come?
Well, Jackie, it's good to be with you. First of all, we don't know the specifics of the deal yet. I think before any of us jumps to conclusions, we need to see what is proposed, what are the specific components of it. And you say this is personal. That's true. It's not just personal for me. It's personal for 40,000 Iranians who were slaughtered on the evening of January 8th and 9th. It's personal for their families. Today, on Memorial Day weekend, it's personal for the families of U.S. soldiers who, for the past 47 years, hundreds, if not thousands, have been murdered at the hands of the Islamic Republic, of its terrorist proxies. So this is something that, of course, all of us are watching closely. The people in the country with whom we speak on a daily basis, frankly, are nervous. They're nervous that their regime, which has held them hostage for 47 years, might be thrown a lifeline yet again. They came to the streets to fight for their freedom. They'll stop at nothing short of complete freedom. Iran, as President Trump has said himself many times, is a country with a long and a great history, 2,500 years of civilization. And so this criminal regime that's occupying the country does not represent the people of Iran, doesn't have the legitimacy to negotiate on their behalf. And even if a deal is reached, it will not allow the regime to survive for the one important reason that the people of Iran do not accept this regime. So we'll see what's in the specifics, what's in the details. What I think is important to remember is that this regime will not abide by anything it agrees to. It's proven that for 47 years. They'll lie, they'll cheat, and they'll steal to get what they want, to stay in power, to continue to murder Iranians and, unfortunately, Americans.
Yeah, one thing the president has emphasized is that the nuclear program must stop, that the nuclear dust, the enriched uranium, must be seized and removed out of Iran. He's used an economic campaign as well as military campaigns to put maximum pressure on what is left of this regime. Do you think that he's got them to the breaking point?
Well, look, the president's maximum pressure policy has been the most successful policy that we've seen on this regime in 47 years. Time after time, presidents have come and gone, Republicans and Democrats, and they failed to address the threat that is the Islamic Republic. President Trump was the first person to address it with his maximum pressure of policies, economically eliminating the supreme leader who's killed Americans and killed Iranians. I think now we're on the cusp of deciding which way that policy goes. Is it time to take advantage of the weakness that this regime is showing? I mean, this regime can barely get its negotiating team together to come to an agreement. So President Trump has brought us to this point with his policies, and I think we're on the cusp of a major decision point. Do we want to finally tip this regime over the edge? Do we want to empower the Iranian people to take their country back? Or do we want to sign a deal with this regime that I think we all understand, Iranians and Americans, it won't abide by? I think the president is searching for peace. He's shown he wants peace. He wants to save lives, Iranian lives and American lives. But a deal with this regime, I think, is very unlikely to deliver that. The way that you save American lives, you save Iranian lives, is by helping the people to finally end this regime. And look, Iranians aren't simply there with the hand outstretched asking for a handout. They're not asking for their freedom. You know, this week on Memorial Day weekend, we remember all those who have died for America's freedom. And tens of thousands of Iranians have given their lives for freedom. They're fighting. They're not just asking for it. Of course, if the United States helps, if it pressures the regime, if it empowers them, Iranians will get there more quickly at a lower cost. But at the end of the day, it's important to remember, Jackie, the people of Iran will not give up this fight. Whatever happens in this deal, they want peace too. And they know that the only way that they'll get peace is when this regime is not in power, because this regime doesn't want peace. The problem with these negotiations, the problems with the deal, is that there is not an honest broker sitting on the other side of the table. They're not acting in good faith.
Right.
They're just trying to save their regime.
As you said, there is a lot of confidence in President Trump that if anybody can do this, he can. And so we are still waiting for those details. We will see what materializes. Cameron, great to see you today. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jackie.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.